Bart, how excited are you for the Le Mans Virtual Series?
I'm pretty excited. I'm not sure I can really measure it. It's a bit, I think I'm still processing it a bit, and I'm more caught up in making sure I'm actually here and everything's happening and we're getting everything ready how we want it to be, to the point where I haven't had time to think about kind of, my response to what's happening and my emotions about it. So I'm more just focusing on like build the sims, actually drive the car and be competitive. Maybe next week I'll realize what's happened, but at the moment I'm just trying to get everything ready for tomorrow. Yeah.
Well, as a pro driver, have you done this sort of simulation racing before?
Yeah, so I use simulators a lot in my own training, and the teams I've raced with in the past and currently use simulators for various types of kind of preparation for race meetings, as well as testing driver skills and a few other things. So I've used it in that sense, and I've also competed at home on my own sim in some esports competitions as well. But I'm extremely unfamiliar with the software we're using, rFactor 2, because you'll find with racing, people like to stick to their certain software, even though it's all driving, it's all a little bit different. I think on the bright side, I'm used to jumping between different sims, so I wasn't really afraid of jumping onto a simulator I don't know and things like that. So I think I'm just looking forward to the challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, it really will be an interesting challenge. So tell me a little bit about the sort of races that you've driven in before in your professional driving career. So you've driven on some iconic racetracks. Tell me a little bit about some of those.
Yeah, so I started my racing in Australia, in Australian Formula Ford, and then I've come to the UK to compete in British F4 and Formula 4, and then British Formula 3 this year and the previous season as well. So yeah, I drove on some amazing tracks in Australia, like Phillip Island and Eastern Creek and things like that, and I've had the opportunity to go to some of the most famous tracks in the UK, like Brands Hatch is one of my favourite tracks. Alton Park is quite a classic, and then obviously Silverstone Grand Prix circuit is just my local track, only 50 minutes from my house. So it's always great to race there because I can get home early and get a good night's sleep. But it's also just an awesome track to race on, and it's always great being on an F1 track.
Oh, that's really exciting. But we're also really excited for this event today. It's actually the first time that we've hosted an esports event like this in Wolverhampton. Have you been to like an in-person live event before, or do you normally do this sort of thing from home?
No, I've actually never been to a live event. I think it probably coincides with the fact that I only started competing seriously last year, so perhaps the opportunity hasn't been there. Yeah, I haven't, and yeah, again, it's kind of exciting for me because it's something new and different, and usually it's weird. You're like, they've got this big event on tonight or whenever, but you're like there 2 hours at home just doing nothing. Whereas when I'm at the racetrack, it's a 4-day event, and I think that's a big difference. But it certainly brings some of that kind of real race event feel because we have to go to a location, be with the team and things like that, as well as the way they've set it out is free practice and qualify on a separate day, whereas I think traditionally in sim racing it's like a 1 hour or 2 hour block and you just drive like practice, qualifying, race. So yeah, it's a bit different, but I like it. It brings a bit more realism to it, I'd say. Yeah.